So we're on Tzadi Hey Amid Beis. It says, it's right after it says Teku. It's 3 lines down in the widest lines. Tana. Still talking about the massive invading force that was destroyed, that was brought by Sanhedrin. Tana. Rishonim Avru Bashechi. Shnemar V'cholof B'Yehuda Shetef V'Avar. That the first group, when the invaders started crossing over the Yarden, they had to swim. So they shut off over, they had to go into the water and pass for the water. But there was so many people coming through that it started to lower the level of the water. So the next group, they were able to walk through. Hello, Afa Beragleim. The water reached Ad Sabra until the next, the later ones. They caused the dust with their feet. I'm sorry, Ad Sabra Yagia. Achroinim, the last group, Hello, Afa Beragleim. When they walked, they caused the dust to come up, meaning there was no water left at all. There was no water to drink. Until they brought water from another place. That means there was so many people that it totally dried out the river. You had to dig and had water to drink. How could you say that there were all these millions and billions of invading soldiers in the army, but it says, the pasuk says, it was 185,000 that they found the next morning dead. Those were the generals; those are the people in charge, but there were many, many more besides them who also died. Ravashi, Dekanami Dechsev, the Mishman of Rozin, that the Rozin is the destruction came, Mishman of Beshmenim de Isbu. It means with the fat ones, the fat cats, the generals. Ravina, Dekanami Dechsev Vayishalach Hashem Malach Vayechad Kol Gibachaya V'Nogid V'Sar B'Machna. The Malach sent and he destroyed all the Gibari Chayil, the strong ones, and the officers and the lords that were in the camp. So it means only the top people, not the grunts, not the regular soldiers. Those were also destroyed, but it's not who the pasuk is referred to. Saknamara, then Sanhedrin returned back to Bavel. Vayavei beis Elihav, he went to the house of his avodah zarah. Umiyitziyei meyav sham hipilu b'charav. The people who came out of him, meaning his children, they killed him. Shma mina b'ma shma mina. I'm not sure exactly how that. I think this is just the end of the pasuk. I don't think that there's any particular message from that last part. It's just the end of it. Shma mina. But in any case, you see from here that it was the leaders of the army that died, that the pasuk is referring to. What caused them to die? How did they die? From what says by Mitzrayim that the Yidden saw the Yad HaGdolah, Hayad Shasiduli Para Misancherev. That's a reference that what the Yidden saw was the Yad that the Barsha was going to use to kill Sancherev's army. Yeshua Aimer Be'etzba Hikam. Says he hit them with the Etzba, Shenema Bayom Chatum Al Pari, Etzba Eli Kimi. He Etzba Shasiduli Para Misancherev. Again, that when it says what we say in the Haggadah, Etzba Elekimi, that's a reference to the Etzba that was used to destroy the army of Sanhedrin. We're on Tzadi Hey Amid Beis, in the middle of the wide lines. So, we all grow up with the picture of the angel of death. You always see the picture He's coming with the scythe, right? The thing that you use to cut wheat. The angel of death. Yeah, you always see that. You know, that's in popular culture. That's the way it's depicted. This is where it comes from. Amalek Baruch Gabriel, Malgacha Netusha, your scythe. Malgacha is the rounded blade is unsheathed. Amalufan Rabban Shalom Netusha by Mez Mishishimei Abrasius. It's been standing there. I've had it ready to go from Sheshimei Abrasius to go and kill the Sanhedrin and his army. Shenema Necharbas Nadadu. So if the whole pasuk, you look at the end of that pasuk is because of the unsheathed sword. At that time that Gabriel went and destroyed the army, it was a time of ripening of fruit. When you go out, Gabriel's job was also to be the one to ripen fruit. So when you go out to do that job, also take care of his army, destroy his army. As you pass by, you should take from them as you go in the mornings, and it's only going to make whoever hears about this is going to be very scared. Amra Papa, you should always, I think what this means to say is you always act very cool when you're meeting your enemy. When you should go out, as you're going, doing your regular work, that's when you should, this saying is, that's when you should approach your enemy. And it's saying that Gabriel was told by the Beresham, go kill the army of Sanhedrin as you're doing your regular work. You know, just show it's not such a big deal. We can take care of you as we're doing everything else. Yesh Aimer. So that was, we've seen a bunch of different explanations of how the army of Sanhedrin died. Yesh Aimer b'choitman noshach, when he blew into their nostrils, umesu, and they died. Shenema begam noshach b'hem v'yavoishu. I breathed into them and they dried up. V'yim b'yaba amar kapayim sifak lahem. They clapped his hands. Gabriel clapped his hands, umesu, and that caused them to die. Shenema begamani eka kapi al kapi v'ani choisi chamasi. I'm going to clap my hands and my anger will dissipate, meaning and when he claps his hands, it will dissipate by killing them. Yitzchak Nafcha said he made their ears attuned to hear. He was a Megal of the ears. Shamu Shirim Pichayis, and he made them capable of hearing the Shira of certain heavenly beings, Umesu, and that caused them to die. There are certain heavenly beings that sing all the time, and if we were able to hear them, it would kill us. But the Mershal made it that we're not able to hear them. So Malach Gabriel made it that the whole army of Sanhedrin was able to hear the singing of the Chayas, and that caused them to die. From your heavenly heights, meaning from the Kedusha of this song that they couldn't absorb, Nafzu Goyim, that destroyed the Goyim. The common Ishtayah how many was left in them? Rav Amar Asar. Rav says it was 10. Shnemar. I'm not sure why, before we asked this question of how many were left over, and we said it's a teku, and now we're going and asking the same question again. How many were left over from the army?
No, before we were asking how many there were, because it said the number that there was minus chasar achas.
You're right. That was how many were to begin with, and now we're talking about how. You're right, correct. So Rav Amar Asara. Rav says after the destruction, there were only 10 soldiers left. Shanama Bashar, Eitz Ya'arei Mispar, from the whole forest, there was only a number left. Yiu Benar Yichosvim. And a child could write how many were left. Kamanar Yachal Lichtlev Asara. The easiest thing for a child to write is 10. In Lashon Kodesh, 10 is written with a Yud. And Yud is the easiest letter to write. It's just one dot. So that's what a child can write. So that's a reference to 10. Ushmul Ametesha, it's 9. Shenema Benishaba, Oilos Kanokav Zayish, Naim Shloisha. There's all that we left. We left over a couple of bundles of olives, 2 or 3. Gargarim Baroish Amir, like bundles, like branches on the top of a tree. Arba v'chamisha b'seifa. 4 or 5 in one group. So he darshans the 4 and 5. That's the 9 that was left over. Shuman Levi, I'm arba aser. She says, no, you add up everything in that pasuk. First it says 2 or 3, then it says 4 or 5. So that amounts to a total of 14. V'yechan says it was only 5. So from that whole pasuk, you just take what it says 5. Sanhedrin, and how do you know it's 5? Sanhedrin v'shnei banav. Sanhedrin and his 2 sons, Nebuchadnezzar and Nebuzaradan. They were all left over from the Milchama. Nebuzaradan, Gemara. Nebuzaradan that we know is there. Nebuzaradan was the general of Nebuchadnezzar who actually destroyed the Yerushalayim. But he was there at this earlier battle with Sanhedrin. So we have a Hilchas Gemiri law. We have a Gemara that we know that Nebuzaradan was there. Nebuchadnezzar d'chsev orava derevia dami lebara lekin. He saw in the fire with Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. He saw a 4th person who looked like a malach. He loved the chazia minah. If he had not already seen a malach, how would he know what a malach looks like to say that he saw to get in the furnace together with Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah a malach? So he must have been there when Sancheriev's army was destroyed by Gavriel, who came and destroyed the army, and he recognized Gavriel. Sancheriv v'shnei banav. How about Sancheriv and his 2 sons? He went into his base, the house of his idol worship. Adar Melech v'Sharatza banav, and his 2 sons, Adar Melech and Sharatza, he kol b'cherev. They killed him with the sword. Sancheriv was killed by his own sons, and the pasuk describes them. Now, if his sons were still alive to kill him after the battle, they must have not died. The Gemara assumes that they came with him to the Milchama. They must have survived together with Nebuchadnezzar and Nebuzaradan. Amra Bavo, in Molim Mikra Kosav Yashel Amre. I'll tell you a story that if it wasn't written in the pasuk, it would be impossible to say. But it talks about the Rebbeinu Shalom as if this pasuk describes the Rebbeinu Shalom as if he did personal services for Sancheriv as part of his punishment, but something that's obviously we can't really wrap our minds around it. That on that day Hashem will shave with a borrowed razor be'ivrei nar on the other side of the river, b'melech Asher, with the king of Asher, meaning it's Sancheriv, es haroish v'shar ha'aglayim, his head and the hair on his legs, v'gam es hazaken, and also his beard, tafsa, he destroyed all of it. Also, so the Gemara says, what's this? What is this pasuk referring to? And again, the explanation is not really any more understandable than the pasuk itself. Also, kutsha brichu, the Moshe came v'admi leike gaver sabi, appeared to Sancheriv like an old man. Amaleki azlis legabi malchi mizrach ha'mayrev, d'isniu lebeinayu v'katlinu. My amralahu. The Moshe in the guise of an old man said to Sancheriv, what are you going to say to all your sponsors, all the other malachim, when you say you went to destroy Yerushalayim and you were unsuccessful? They're not going to take it well. Amalahu, Ahu Gavra, Bahu Pachtanami Yosef. Sancheriv answered him, I'm talking worried about. This is exactly what I'm afraid of. What should I do? So what should I do? Zil v'shani nafshech. You should go and change your appearance. You have to disguise yourself so they can't find you. That you don't want to have to pay the piper for your failures. So v'mayishan, he said, how should I change myself? Zil aisili mispara. Go get me a scissors, v'agziacha, and I'll cut your hair. No. Mehecha, he said, where should I get scissors? Amalei oilahu beisa v'aisi. Go to this house, so-and-so house, and bring it to me. Also, Ashkechenu, he found the house. Also, Malachi Sharas ve'inbelu kegavri. He came to the house, and there were people in there, Malachi Sharas, that appeared like people. V'avakamasni tachni kashiasa, and they were grinding wheat. Amalei Havali Mispara, he asked them for the scissors that the old man, the Rebbeinu Shalom appearing as the old man had advised them to get. Amalei Tchan Chad Guriya de Kashisa. You have to first grind for us. You have to work for us. V'nitin we'll give it to you. Tchan Chad Guriya de Kashisa v'Yavulei Misparta. So he did what they asked, and he brought them the scissors. So this is all. The basic idea is that he was very mavuzah from all this. He was the king, and he ended up running around doing menial labor. This is part of the Rebbeinu Shalom's plan to bring him down from his high horse. Ada asa echshech. By the time he came back with the scissors, it was late. It was dark. Amalei zilai sinura. So the Saba told him, "Bring me a nair, bring me a light, so I can see what I'm doing." Azov sinura. He brought a fire. As he was blowing on the fire to get it to burn brighter, it started to burn his beard. So then the Rebbeinu Shalom, as the old man, shaved off his head and his beard. Amru, they said, Hainu d'chsev. That's what they're in. Regamas hazakin tispe. Even the zakin will be taken away. So it was a very humiliating experience for Sanhedrin. Amar Papa, Hamidan, Hainu Damri Inshi. This is what people say. Girirase la'armoi shapir, shapile. I think Girirase means embarrassment, embarrassment for someone who's an armoi is good for him. When a fire catches his beard, you're never going to stop laughing at him. Mine. Basically, that once you got him rolling, that he was going along with all the mishigas and go here, get the misper, get the fire. So eventually he ended up being mavaz himself by burning off his beard. Azul, so Sanhedrin was still alive. He got this busha of going around, and he had his beard cut off, but he didn't, they didn't find him. All his other generals and kings didn't find him to kill him. Azul ashkach dafka mitevusa de Noach. He went and found a piece of wood from Noach's teva. Amar hainu el karaba de shizva leNoach mitufna. He said that he assumed that the teva was what saved Noach from the Mabel. Amar I azalahu gavru umatzach mekarv lahu mikrav lahu letrin b'noi kamach. He said, if I'm going to be able to survive, he davened to this piece of wood from the teva, and he made a promise: if you'll save me, I'll bring my two sons as a carbon. Shamu b'noi, his sons overheard this, v'katlu, and they killed him. He was bowing down in his church. Adam Malach v'Sharatza, Banav, his two sons, Adam Malach v'Sharatza, he kol b'charav. They hit him with the sword and they killed him. Pasuk says, "Vayachlik aleim laila hu va'avad vayakim." Amar Rav Yochanan, Oisem Malach. What does that pasuk mean? That the Laila came on him and it hit them. Amar Rav Yochanan, Oisem Malach shenizdam Laila Avram Laila Shmai. This is talking about Avram Avinu. That Avram Avinu was able to defeat the Arba Malachim, and it's the Torah expresses it this way. So the pasuk shot is he attacked them at night. But the pasuk Amar Rav Yochanan, Oisem Malach says Daman Laila Avram Laila Shmai. There was a certain Malach whose name was Laila, who helped Avram in his battle. Shenem Ava Laila Amar Hoira Gever. The Laila will say that that this is when the man was conceived, but we darshan it to mean that the Laila said something. It means Laila is a certain Malach. It means differently. It means that the Laila itself, the night, meaning the stars and the Shemayim that come out at night, they fought on Avram's behalf. Shenemam and Shemayim nilchamu hakechavim The stars fought from their paths. Nilchamu im Sisra. They fought with Sisra. So you see that there's such a concept of stars fighting. So that's what it means that the stars fought for Avram. Amr Ishlakish. Tava de Nafcha midebar Nafcha. The shot of Rav Yitzchak Nafcha, who's the second one, is better than Bar Nafcha. Rabbi Yochanan, the first shot, who said it was a Malach named Lila, he said that the second shot is better. By Yiduf Adon, and that Avram chased them till dawn. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Kivan Shabbos at Tzadik Adon Tashish Koicha. When Avram was fighting with the Arba Malachim, when he reached dawn, he weakened. He saw that his descendants were going to be Oived Avodah Zarah and done. Shenema Avayoshem Esa Echad Bebeiskel Esa Echad Nosam Bedon. That they put the two Avodah Zarahs, one in Beiskel and one in Don. Baf Oisa Roshel in his garbage and Don. And also Nebuchadnezzar, we always call when we say Oisa Roshel, usually is referring to him. He wasn't able to be victorious until he came to Don. Sheneman be Don Nishma Nachra Susa. From Don you could hear the neighing of his horses. Amr B'Zera, Af Agav the Shalach of Yehudim and Mitzeir and Tzivirin in Tzivin. There's like there's going to be a raya that we want to bring a raya that the Baruch Shalom pays back even the smallest thing for someone who, even though they're not, we're going to see that Nebuchadnezzar received a benefit for a little bit that he did. I'm going to show that's the midah of the Baruch Shalom. So Amr Zer, Avagav the Shalch Yehudim Mitzrayim and Tzibin. Hizaru b'zaken sheshach Talmud. First of all, you should be respectful of a zaken who no longer remembers his learning. Machmas einsai, because his head doesn't work. He's gotten old. Hizaru b'vridin Rabbi Yehuda. Also be careful to observe Rabbi Yehuda's psak that you have to cut the vridin of a bird when you shecht it. Hizaru b'bnei amei aretz. And also be careful of the children of Amaratzim, Shemehen Teitzei Torah, that the Torah comes out of the children of Amaratzim. But this you could tell the children of Amaratzim, even though you have to be respectful of them, you can tell them that don't think it's all to your credit, you did all yourself. Tzadik ato Hashem, ki arav alecha. The Navi said, am I a tzaddik? You're a tzaddik, and that am I able to argue to you? But I'm going to ask you this question: how is it justice? How is it that Rishayim are able to be matzliach? He was asking, how did Nebuchadnezzar? How was he matzliach when he was such a Rasha? Kol b'ydei bagan atatem gam shersha yelechu. Gam asu pri, that they're able to those who betray you, they're able to plant trees with roots and they have pri. So Maya Hadrule, what did the Baruch Shalom answer to this question of the Navi that the Navi asked? And I think this is the continuation. We said that when a Amaretz has a child, you could tell the child that it's not fully to your credit. The Amaretz, your father has some schusim also. And he said the same thing the Navi said when he asked about Nebuchadnezzar, what schusim does he have that he's entitled to have such hatzlacha? So Maya Hadrule, what was the response of the Baruch Shalom about why Nebuchadnezzar was Zeicha? That the legs are running and they arrive, and you're dependent and you're faithful that you're going to come to the land of peace. And how should I do with the one who's the arrogant about his crossing over the Yarden? Marshal Adam Echad. So what's the marshal? To a person sha'aymer yachal nilaretz gimel parsois l'fnei asusim. I can run 3 parsois and I can beat horses in a race of 3 parsois, which is a large amount. And and even if it's in a swamp. This person was boasting about how he could beat a horse in a marathon in the mud. One person running appeared before him. Lots of fun of Gimel Milan. He was running for 3 million, which is a small amount, by Yabasha on the dry land, Manila, and he couldn't keep up with him. The boaster wasn't able to keep up with him. Amalei, Ragli Kach. If you can't beat someone on foot, Kach Lefnei Asusim Malachas Kavakama. You certainly can't beat a horse. Uma Shloisha Milin Kach. If just a small amount, you can't keep up. Gimel Parsois Alachas Kavakama. You ran out of breath for 3 million. You're certainly going to run out of breath of 3 parsois, which each parsa is 7 million. If you can't run on dry land, certainly on the mud you can't. He said the Rajam was making a mashal. The mashal was that you're questioning if there's really going to be a fair judgment that the tzaddikim are going to get what they deserve. If Nebuchadnezzar got rewarded so much, and the Rajam answered to him, "Don't worry about it. If I paid back to Nebuchadnezzar for the little bit that he did, that he ran Daled Amos, that the Gemara is going to explain when Nebuchadnezzar ran Daled Amos, don't worry, I'm certainly going to give to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov their just rewards, that they ran after me like Susim. What they did was many, many times more than what Nebuchadnezzar did. The Nevi'im, my heart is breaking in me. Rachfu kol atzmaisei, my bones are breaking. Hayisi keish sachor ukegibar avru yayin. I was like a man who was drunk and like a strong man who consumed wine. In front of Hashem, in front of His holy words. That means that the Rebbe Shalom assuaged the Navi's concerns, and he said, "I was very satisfied with this response." Hani Dalad Psiyas Mahi. What were the 4 steps, the 4 amas that Nebuchadnezzar ran for Kavod Hashem? There was an earlier king whose name was Merudach Baladan ben Baladan. The Gemara is going to explain where his strange name came from. And Nebuchadnezzar was one of his hanger-ons. So Melech Bavel, Sfarim, and one of what was the end of the pasuk? One of his svarim, one of his scribes. Basically, Shalach Meruda Melech Bavel Svarim Mincha El Chizkiyahu. He sent letters and present to Chizkiyahu. When he heard that Chizkiyahu had gotten sick and recovered. Why did this king feel he had to send him letters and presents? Because Chizkiyahu, the Melech of Yerushalayim, got sick and recovered. He didn't know him at all. So Zakdamara, Lidrush Hamoifis Asher Haya Ba'aretz. Because there was a moifis that happened when Chizkiyahu recovered that he saw in his own land. Amar Rav Yechon Oisa Hayom Shemeis by Achaz, the day that Achaz, the father of Chizkiyahu, died. There was only 2 hours in that day. The sun set early in order that he shouldn't be able to have a Bakavadika funeral. He was a big Russia. When Chizkiyahu got sick, and he recovered. The Rebbe gave those 10 hours back. That day was lengthened. He had an extra 10 days of the healing sun to heal him. The shade of the increase in the sundial, that it went down b'malas achav, that the sundial was decreased, that those degrees on the sundial were decreased during the days of Achaz. B'shemes acharanis esemalis ateshav hashemesh esemalis malas asher yada. The sun returned those 10 milas in the time of Chizkiyahu. Amalei mai hai. So the this Melech, whatever his name was, Baladan ben Baladan, Reduvach, Marvadach, Baladan ben Baladan said, "What's going on? Why is the sun out for so long?" Amalei, Chizkiyahu cholish ve'etvach. They told him it's because Chizkiyahu was sick and he recovered. Amalei gaber ki hai v'lebein l'shturle shalma. I should send him something if the Rebbe Shalom's holding the sun on his behalf. Kasvele shalma lemalka. He sent him a letter. It said Shalom to the Melech Chizkiah, Shalom l'kar to Yerushalayim, Shalom to the city of Yerushalayim, Shalom l'kar Rabbah, and Shalom to the great Rabbeinu Shalom. Nebuchadnezzar Safrei de Baladan Haba. Nebuchadnezzar was one of the secretaries of Baladan, Hahishait at that time. Hahishait Lehavahasam. He wasn't there. He wasn't present at the time they wrote this letter. He also, when he arrived, Amalu Hechi Kasvisu. He asked, "How did you write the letter?" Amrulei Haki Kasvina. Amrulahu Karisuli. He said, "Read it to me." Alakar Rabba Karisule. He told him, Alakar Rabba Kasvisule Lipsaif. I'm sorry, he read the letter and he says, "You wrote Alakar Rabba at the end." It's not Bakavidik to say the Rebbe Shalom's name at the end of the letter. Amru Amalahachi Kasubu Shalom Alakar Rabba Shalom Kadush Laim Shalom Malka Chizkiah. The order should be exactly the opposite. First you say to the Rebbe Shalom, then you say to Shalim, and finally you say to Chizkiah. Amalei, Krained Egusa Iu Lehevi Pravanka. The one who wrote the letter, he's the one who should do the shlichus. So you're saying that it was written wrongly. You should go get the shliach that's on his way with the letter and rewrite it. Rot Basrei, Nebuchadnezzar started to run after the letter in order to correct it, to write with the Mobak Havadik nusach for the Rebbe Shalom. Kederot Arba Pasias, when he ran 4 steps, Asa Gavriel v'Ukma. Gavriel came and stopped him. Either he brought him the rest of it, he gave him Kvisa Derech, or he brought the shliach to him, and he was able to correct the letter after 4 steps. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Ilmolei Ba Gavriel v'Emidu. Had Gavriel not stopped Nebuchadnezzar, here to Kanlu Shaneim Shel Yisrael, there would have been no saving the Yidden. Nebuchadnezzar would have had too much schus on his side if he would have made the entire trip. So Gavriel stopped him before he could get a bigger schus that would have made a bigger destruction. So anyway, this is the 4 steps, and this is the little bit of schus that Nebuchadnezzar had that entitled him to his great reward, that he had so much success against the Yidden. But this is just a raya of how much the Rebbe Shalom is going to pay back tzaddikim. My Baladan ben Baladan. Why was this Melech called Baladan ben Baladan? Amri Baladan Malkahu Hava. Baladan was the king. Vishtani Apia. Vahavik di Kalva. His face changed and he got the face of a dog. Havi Yosef Bray al Malchusa. So his son took over him. He was disabled. Couldn't remain king like that. He would write his name as Baladan Malka as a coveted because his father was taken out of his kingship early. Ben Yichved Av. A son is Mechaved his father, Ve'eved Adoinav, and a slave is Mechaved his master. Ben Yichaved Av Hadamar. This Baladan ben Baladan, that's the case of a son being Mechaved his father. The Eved Adoinav, where do you see a slave honoring his master? On the 5th month, on the 10th, I'm sorry. Who's the Rad and Rav was the chief of the butchers. And he stood in front of the Melech Bavel, in front of Nebuchadnezzar in Yerushalayim. V'yisur his Beis Hashem v'his Beis HaMelech. He destroyed the Beis Hashem and the Beis HaMelech, the Beis HaMikdash. Practically tomorrow we saw Nebuchadnezzar Yerushalayim with Nebuchadnezzar in Yerushalayim. That he brought to the Kalim to the Melech Bavel in Rivlosa. That's Antochia, which is not in Eretz Yisrael. So Nebuchadnezzar never came into Eretz Yisrael. One says that Nebuzaradan had the picture of Nebuchadnezzar on his chariot. So he talked to him as if he was there. Nebuzaradan was so fearful of Nebuchadnezzar, he felt as if he was standing in front of him. So this is an example of an Eved who gave covet to his master. Amar Rava, Ton Tlas Meya could nice and Narga de Parzala, the Shalba Parzala. There were 300 axes were made with the axe heads of metal that cuts metal. Shadale Nebuchadnezzar Linabuzaradan, that Nebuchadnezzar gave Nebuchadnezzar to knock down the walls of Yerushalayim. Kulu Belasinu Chadasha Yerushalayim. They all got blunted on one gate of Yerushalayim. Shenamar, and the Marsha says this pasuk is really supposed to be flipped with the next pasuk that we're going to quote, because it really seems to be saying that one axe got. The doorway was hit with as one with axe and with different implements. Boilam heder. So he wasn't matzliach Nebuchadnezzar when he hit this gate and it didn't succeed. He wanted to return. Amas tapina deloy liyavrubi. I don't think I'm going to be able to be successful. I'm scared they're going to do to me. Just like Sanhedrin, that his entire army died. Nafka kalavi amra, a voice went out. Shavar shabar shavar, which Rashi touches the lug, barsh the lug, someone who jumps over. Nebuzaradan shavar, go jump ahead. The mata zimna the mikad shacharav, the mikdash shacharav ve'echala mikli. The time has come that the Rebbe Shalom wants that the mikdash should be destroyed and the heichal should be burnt. Pashle chad narga. He had left over one axe. Asam machi bekupa ve'iftach. He hit it with the blunt side, with the blunt side of the axe, and it opened up the door. When the time came, didn't make a difference what Nebuzaradan did. Shenamar yedea kemevi lamayla besavach eitz kardumas. Yivoda, it will be known like when you bring on top an eighth of chopping. So Rashi has some way of teaching that this is a reference to a single axe being successful. Havakata ba'azal, he was killing ad matal heichal. After he got into Shalim, he was massacring the Yidden until he came to the heichal. Adlik beinura gaba heichala. He lit it on fire. Gava heichala, and the heichal started rising up to the Shemayim. Darchu min Shemaya, and from the Shemayim they pushed it down. Shenamar gas derech Hashem lepsulas bas Yehuda. The Baruch like a olive press, he pushed down on the psulas bas Yehuda on Yerushalayim, on the Yidden. The Baruch himself actively stopped the heichal from being saved from the fire. Chazicha daita. At that point, Nebuzaradan became very arrogant. Nafka baskala v'amrle. The Baskal came out and said, "Amakatela katalta. You don't be proud of yourself. This is all the Rebbe Shalom's doing. They deserved it for their averis, but it's not because of what you did. You killed a dead nation. Hechala kalya kalisa. You burnt hechal that was already burnt. Kimcha tchina tachinta. You have ground flour. Shenema kechi rechayim v'tachne. Take a millstone and grind kemach, the flour, galit samasa chafshi shavel galis shaik ivri nars. Uncover your braids, uncover your head, and uncover your legs when you pass over the nar. Chitim leinemar. But in any case, the pasuk says we're not talking. It doesn't say that you should grind wheat. Ala kemach, grind flour. So you're grinding. The pasuk is saying grind something that was already ground. You haven't accomplished anything. Nebuzaradan is all the Rebbe Shalom's doing. Nebuzaradan then saw the blood of Zechariah that was bubbling. Amlu Maihai, what is this? Amulei dam zavachabu. The Yidden told him it's from a carbon. They didn't want to tell him that it was Zechariah's blood, that they had killed him for forecasting that if Yidden did do Shuvah, that the Beis HaMikdash was going to be destroyed. So dam zavachabu deishtefach. They said it's blood, still spilled blood from Karbanis. Amalu Aisi va'ansi imidamu kasi imidamai kasi imidamai. Let's go check if it's the same as the dam of the Zvachim. Kasi v'lay idmu. They brought blood from a carbon and it did not do the same thing. It wasn't bubbling. Only this blood bubbled. Amnu Galili, tell me the truth. It's not, I'm going to comb your flesh with combs of steel. They told him the truth. This is the Navi Zechariah. The Invi Lahul Yisrael b'Churban Yerushalayim that gave them the Nevuah of the Churban of Yerushalayim b'Katlu, and they killed him. He said, I'm going to quiet it down. I think it's because he was being very full of himself that he had destroyed Yerushalayim. And the Baruch Hashem told him, no, this is really my doing, and then now there's a Navi that said it, so that just reinforces that he didn't do anything. So he wanted to stop it. I see Rabbanan Kataluya. He came and he killed Rabbanan and he mixed their blood and it didn't stop. I see Dardaki Rav Katalai. He brought the younger Talmidei Chachamim and he killed them, and their blood also didn't stop it. I see Parchek Muna Katalai. He brought the Kehanim and he killed them. Ad the Kataliluya Tishin Varbari Vuya until he killed 94 times 10,000. And it still didn't stop. Karv Gabe Amr. And so Nebuzaran came to the blood. Amr Zechariah Toivim Shebehen Ivadtim. I already killed the best amongst them. Nichalach Diklinu Lakulu. You want me to kill everyone? Miyad Nach. At that point it stopped. Hirer Tshuva Bedaita. So Nebuzaran then thought about this and he did Tshuva. He had Charot on what he did. Amar Ma Heim Shalei Ivdu El Nefesh Achas. Kach. If this is the punishment that for them killing Zechariah, it ended up that I killed all these hundreds and thousands and millions of Yidden. Hahu Gabra Matahavi. What's going to happen on me that I killed so many Yidden? Arak Shada Protisul they went and he sent a will to his house, his Gaia, and he was Megaya. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Leave it at the Geras. And then we'll talk about all the other Rishayim who they are the descendants who